Billionaire pretends to be homeless and enters beauty contest to find love. In a New York City where appearances deceive and second chances are rare, a billionaire, tired of his empty life, decides to disguise himself as a homeless man and enter an unusual beauty contest. What begins as a selfish quest for genuine connection turns into an emotional journey of self-discovery, revealing that true beauty can be found in the most unexpected places, and that even the most privileged can get lost and found on the streets of the city that never sleeps. In the bustling streets of New York, among the towering skyscrapers and the constant hum of the city that never sleeps, walked a man few would recognize. Nathan Blackwood, at 35, was one of the most successful businessmen in the country, with an estimated fortune in the billions. However, on that autumn morning, he blended into the crowd wearing simple, unremarkable clothes, observing the world around him with a contemplative gaze. Nathan had everything money could buy: mansions around the world, luxury cars, private jets. But there was something his wealth could not purchase: genuine human connection. Despite his tremendous success in business, Nathan felt a deep emptiness in his personal life. His relationships were always tainted with doubt. Did people approach him for who he was or for what he owned? As he strolled down Fifth Avenue, Nathan observed couples holding hands, friends laughing in cafes, and families enjoying walks in the parks. His heart yearned for that kind of bond, but years of distrust and disappointments had made him skeptical about finding true love. That morning, something caught his eye. A colorful poster advertised a local beauty contest, but it wasn't an ordinary event. The slogan read, "Beauty Beyond Appearance, a contest for the soul." Nathan stopped, intrigued. The poster explained that the contest sought participants who demonstrated not only physical beauty but also compassion, intelligence, and authenticity. As he read the details, a bold and almost absurd idea began to form in his mind. What if he participated in this contest, but not as Nathan Blackwood, the billionaire, but as someone else? Someone free from the chains of wealth and fame? His heart raced with the possibility. It would be a chance to meet people who valued him for who he really was, without the influence of his fortune. But how could he do it? The answer came when his eyes fell on a homeless man sitting on the nearby sidewalk. Nathan felt a mix of guilt and inspiration. He always donated to charity, but rarely interacted directly with those who needed help the most. What if he not only disguised himself but truly lived as a homeless person for a while? This would not only give him a new perspective but also a unique opportunity to participate in the contest without the burden of his name and fortune. The idea was risky, possibly even ethically questionable. Nathan knew he was treading on delicate ground. He didn't want to disrespect or diminish the real experiences of those living on the streets. At the same time, he felt this might be his only chance to find a genuine connection. With his mind racing with possibilities and doubts, Nathan made an impulsive decision. He would do it. He would enter the contest disguised as a homeless man, seeking not only potential love, but also a deeper understanding of himself and the world around him. As he returned to his penthouse apartment, Nathan began planning his transformation. He knew the coming days would be challenging and possibly transformative. What he didn't know was that this decision would set off a chain of events that would change not only his life but the lives of many around him in ways he could never have imagined. The sun had barely risen when Nathan Blackwood left his luxurious apartment for the last time, carrying only an old backpack with a few essentials. His heart raced with a mixture of anxiety and excitement as he headed to a dark alley in the Bronx. There, away from prying eyes, Nathan began his metamorphosis. He removed his branded clothes and replaced them with worn-out pieces he had bought from thrift stores. He disheveled his carefully groomed hair and rubbed some dirt on his face and hands. Finally, he applied a fake beard, carefully worn to look realistic. When he was done, the man staring back at him from a dirty puddle barely resembled the powerful CEO he had been moments earlier. Nathan Blackwood had disappeared, giving way to Nick Brown, a homeless man with a sad story to tell. As he walked through the now busy streets, Nathan, now Nick, felt the first looks of disdain and discomfort from passers-by. It was a strange and uncomfortable sensation, so different from the respect and admiration he was used to. For the first time in his adult life, he was invisible. His first destination was a homeless shelter in Harlem. Nathan had researched extensively and chosen this specific location for its proximity to the beauty contest venue. Upon arrival, the reality of his situation hit him hard. The smell of unwashed bodies and cheap disinfectant assaulted his senses. People of all ages and ethnicities crowded into makeshift bunks, their possessions reduced to a few plastic bags. Nathan felt a wave of guilt wash over him. This wasn't a game. These were real lives, stories of struggle and survival. As he registered at the shelter, providing false information with surprising ease, Nathan, now fully immersed in his role as Nick, heard a commotion nearby. A young woman was arguing heatedly with one of the shelter staff. "You don't understand," she cried, tears streaming down her stained face. "I need to enter this contest. It's my only chance to get money for my daughter's treatment." Nathan discreetly approached, his curiosity piqued. The woman, who couldn't have been older than 25, held a crumpled flyer, the same beauty contest poster that had caught his attention days before. The shelter worker, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, tried to calm her down. "Sophia, I understand, but you need to be realistic. These contests, they're not for people like us." The worker's words hit Nathan like a punch in the gut. This was exactly the kind of prejudice the contest claimed to fight against. Without thinking, he stepped in. "Excuse me," he said, intentionally roughening his voice. "I couldn't help but overhear. What's the problem?" Sophia turned to him, her green eyes shining with a mix of desperation and determination. "I need to enter this contest. My daughter, Lily, she's only 6 and needs urgent heart surgery. The prize money could save her life." But her voice trailed off, and Nathan felt his heart tighten. This was the kind of story he was used to hearing in board meetings at his charities, but he had never faced the raw reality of the situation. At that moment, something shifted inside Nathan. His initial plan to simply enter the contest for a chance at true love now seemed trivial and selfish. He realized he had an opportunity to do something truly meaningful. "What if we both enter?" he suggested, surprising himself. "Together, we might have a better chance of catching the judge's attention." Sophia looked at him, confused. You do that? But why? You don't even know me." Nathan smiled, feeling a rush of emotion he hadn't experienced in years. Sometimes all we need is someone to believe in us. And who knows, maybe this contest could change our lives in ways we can't even imagine. As Sophia hugged him, crying with relief and gratitude, Nathan felt the weight of his decision. He had entered this journey in search of self-love, but now he found himself involved in something much bigger. The contest was no longer just about him, it was about Sophia, Lily, and all the invisible people society often chose not to see. That night, lying on an uncomfortable bunk bed in the shelter, Nathan reflected on the unexpected turn his life had taken. He knew the days ahead would be filled with challenges, lies, and moral dilemmas. But for the first time in a long while, he felt alive, eager for what the future held. Little did he know, his journey was just beginning, and the twists and turns ahead would test not only his resolve but also his own conception of who he was and what truly mattered in life. Dawn at the shelter was a chaotic symphony of sounds and movements. Nathan, still adjusting to his new identity as Nick, watched the commotion around him with a mix of fascination and discomfort. The smell of cheap coffee and burnt toast filled the air as dozens of people prepared to start another day of survival. Sophia appeared beside him, her green eyes still marked by exhaustion but with a glimmer of hope that wasn't there the day before. "Good morning, Nick," she said, offering a shy smile. I wanted to thank you again for yesterday. You have no idea how much this means to me and Lily." Nathan felt a pang of guilt at the mention of the little girl's name. Was his charade giving false hope to this desperate mother? But it was too late to turn back. "No need to thank me," he replied, forcing a smile. "We're in this together now." The two left the shelter and walked through the bustling streets of New York, heading to the contest registration venue. Nathan watched Sophia from the corner of his eye, noticing how she slightly hunched as they passed through crowded areas, as if trying to make herself invisible. Arriving at the registration site, an old building in the heart of Harlem, Nathan and Sophia were greeted by a line that stretched around the block. People of all ages, races, and social backgrounds waited their turn to sign up. As they waited, Nathan began to overhear snippets of conversations around him. Stories of overcoming obstacles, of postponed dreams, of hopes nearly lost. Each word made him question his own motivations even more. "And you, Nick?" Sophia's voice pulled him back to reality. "What's your story? Why did you decide to enter this contest?" Nathan felt the weight of his lie like never before. He hesitated for a moment, aware that every word he said now would be another layer in his web of deceit. I lost everything a few years ago," he began, mixing truths from his life with the fiction he had created. "My company went bankrupt, my family drifted away. This contest is a chance to start over, to prove to myself that I still have worth." Sophia squeezed his hand gently, her eyes full of understanding. "You do have worth, Nick. We all do. Sometimes we just need a chance to show it to the world." Finally, after hours of waiting, it was their turn. The registration desk was manned by a middle-aged woman with a tired but kind smile. "Names, please," she asked. "Sophia Martinez," said Sophia, her voice trembling with nerves. "Nick Brown," Nathan replied, feeling a shiver as he used his false name officially for the first time. The woman looked at them curiously. "Are you entering together?" Nathan and Sophia exchanged a quick glance before Nathan responded, "Yes, we're friends. We decided to try this together." The woman smiled, something in her eyes suggesting she saw more than they were saying. "Well, that's interesting. We don't have many duo entries. It could be a unique angle for you." As they filled out the forms, Nathan felt his heart racing. Each question was a challenge, forcing him to delve deeper into his lie. Date of birth, address, personal history. Everything was a carefully constructed fabrication. When they finished, the woman handed them 2 badges with numbers. "You're officially entered in the Beauty Beyond Appearance contest. The first stage will be in 3 days. Good luck." As they left the building, Nathan and Sophia looked at each other, a mix of excitement and apprehension on their faces. "We did it," Sophia whispered, tears of relief shining in her eyes. Nathan nodded, unable to find words. He had taken the first step on a journey that promised to change his life forever. But as he looked at Sophia, at the people around them, at the city he now saw with new eyes, one question echoed in his mind. At what cost would this change come? And would he be ready to face the consequences of his actions when the truth inevitably came out? With these thoughts swirling in his mind, Nathan followed Sophia back to the streets of New York, each step taking him deeper into a world he was only beginning to understand. The 3 days leading up to the first stage of the contest passed in a blur of frantic preparations and growing anxiety. Nathan, still firmly in his role as Nick, split his time between helping Sophia prepare and grappling with his increasingly troubled conscience. On the morning of the big day, the community hall in Harlem buzzed with activity. Dozens of contestants gathered, some polishing last-minute presentations, others exchanging nervous glances with their competitors. Sophia nervously adjusted the simple dress she had borrowed. "What if I'm not good enough, Nick? What if I mess everything up?" Nathan took her trembling hands, feeling the weight of his responsibility. "You are more than good enough, Sophia. Remember why you're doing this. For Lily." The mention of her daughter seemed to ignite a fire in Sophia's eyes. She nodded, determined. The first phase of the contest involved an individual interview with the judges. One by one, the contestants were called into an adjacent room. When it was Nathan's turn, he took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. The room was small, with 3 judges seated behind a table. At the center was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and piercing eyes. She smiled kindly at Nathan. "Welcome, Mr. Brown. Please, tell us a bit about yourself and why you decided to enter this contest." Nathan hesitated for a moment. The entire fabricated story was on the tip of his tongue, but suddenly, the words felt hollow. on impulse, he decided to do something he hadn't done in years. Speak the truth, or at least part of it. I spent a large part of my life chasing things I thought were important. Success, money, status. But recently, I realized I was empty inside. This contest, it's a chance to rediscover who I really am, away from all the expectations and pressures. The sincerity in his voice surprised even himself. The judges exchanged interested looks. "And what do you hope to find on this journey of self-discovery?" another judge asked. Nathan thought for a moment. Genuine connection, understanding, and maybe a chance to make a difference in a way that really matters. The interview continued, with questions probing not just his fictitious story but also his deeper values and beliefs. To his surprise, Nathan found that the more honest he was about his true feelings, the easier it became to navigate between the truth and the fiction of his identity as Nick. As he left the room, Nathan felt strangely light, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He found Sophia waiting anxiously. "How was it?" she asked, her eyes wide with worry. Nathan smiled, a genuine smile for the first time in days. It was revealing. While Sophia went in for her own interview, Nathan reflected on what had happened. He had entered this adventure seeking romantic love, but he was beginning to realize that the love he truly needed was for himself and the humanity he had long ignored. The rest of the day passed in a whirlwind of activities. Talent presentations, photo sessions, more interviews. Nathan watched Sophia shine, her determination and maternal love evident in every word and gesture. That night, exhausted but exhilarated, they returned to the shelter. The list of finalists moving on to the next stage would be announced the next morning. Lying on his uncomfortable bunk, Nathan couldn't sleep. His mind was filled with images of the day, the hopeful faces of the other contestants, the unexpected kindness of the judges, Sophia's unwavering courage. He wondered how his actions would impact all these people when the truth came out. Because now he knew, with a certainty that frightened him, that he couldn't keep up this charade forever. At some point, he would have to reveal who he really was. The question was, when that moment came, would he still be the man who entered this competition? Or would he have transformed into someone completely different? With these thoughts swirling in his mind, Nathan finally drifted off into a restless sleep, unaware of the surprises and challenges that awaited him the next morning. The sun had barely risen when a buzz of excitement began to spread through the shelter. The list of finalists had been posted online, and those with access to smartphones quickly shared the news. Nathan woke up to the sound of laughter and cries mixed together. Before he could fully orient himself, Sophia appeared beside his bunk, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Nick, we made it. Both of us made it to the next round." Nathan's heart pounded, a confusing mix of joy and apprehension washing over him. They had made it, but at what cost? Each step forward pulled him deeper into his web of lies. The following hours were a whirlwind. The finalists were taken to a modest hotel, which felt infinitely more comfortable than the shelter. Nathan watched as Sophia marveled at the clean room, the soft bed, the hot shower, things he had always taken for granted. The afternoon was filled with workshops and preparations for the next stage. The organizers spoke about revealing true inner beauty and showing authenticity. Each word was like a dagger to Nathan's conscience. During a break, he found himself alone with one of the judges, the woman with the graying hair from the initial interview. She watched him with a piercing gaze. "Mr. Brown," she began, her voice soft but firm, "there's something about you that intrigues me. It's as if you're carrying a great burden." Nathan's stomach twisted. "We all have our burdens, don't we?" he responded, trying to keep his composure. The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, but some burdens are self-imposed. Remember, this contest is not just about outward beauty, but about truth and authenticity. Sometimes, the greatest act of courage is to be true to oneself and to others." Before Nathan could respond, she walked away, leaving him with a storm of emotions. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Nathan watched as other contestants rehearsed their presentations, each telling a story of overcoming, of hope, of love. Sophia practiced her speech about Lily, tears in her eyes as she spoke about her dreams for her daughter. Then, just an hour before the presentations were set to begin, Nathan made a decision. With trembling hands, he picked up his phone and made a call. "Charles, it's me. I need you to do something for me." When it was his turn to take the stage, Nathan felt like he was walking to his own execution. The audience, consisting of judges, other contestants, and a small crowd of spectators, watched him expectantly. He took a deep breath and began, "My name is not Nick Brown." His voice echoed through the microphone, causing murmurs of confusion in the audience. "My real name is Nathan Blackwood." A murmur spread through the crowd. Some recognized the name instantly, others seemed confused. Nathan saw Sophia's face contort with shock and confusion. "I am or was one of the richest men in this country. I have more money than I could spend in several lifetimes. But a few weeks ago, I realized I had everything except what really mattered. Genuine human connection, purpose, understanding of the world beyond my privileged bubble." Nathan then recounted his entire story. How he decided to disguise himself as a homeless person, how he entered the contest, how he met Sophia and everyone else. He spoke about the lessons he had learned, the lives he had touched, and those that had touched him. "I came here looking for something for myself," he continued, tears now streaming freely down his face. "But I found something much bigger. I found the humanity I had lost a long time ago." As he spoke, Nathan noticed movement at the back of the auditorium. Charles had arrived, accompanied by a team of lawyers and press representatives. But Nathan no longer cared about the consequences. He was at last being honest. "I don't deserve to be on this stage," he concluded. "I don't deserve to compete with people who have truly struggled and suffered. But I promise to use everything I've learned, all my privilege and resources, to make a difference. To help not just Sophia and Lily, but all the people I've met on this journey." The silence that followed was deafening. Nathan stood there, exposed and vulnerable, awaiting the judgment of all those he had deceived. What happened next would not only alter the course of the contest, but the lives of everyone present in ways no one could have foreseen. The next day dawned with a palpable tension in the air. Nathan had barely slept, his mind a whirlpool of conflicting thoughts. Charles's words echoed in his head, competing with the images of Sophia and Lily and the other contestants whose stories he had come to know. The next phase of the contest was about to begin. The finalists were gathered in an auditorium where the organizers explained the day's challenge. Each participant was to create a presentation that showcased their true essence. Sophia was radiant, already planning how she would speak about her daughter and their struggles. But Nathan felt paralyzed. How could he showcase his true essence when everything he had presented so far was an elaborate lie? As the contestants dispersed to prepare their presentations, Nathan was approached by one of the judges, a middle-aged man with perceptive eyes. "Mr. Brown," he said, his voice low and serious, "may I have a word in private?" Nathan's heart raced. Had they discovered the truth? Following the judge to a quiet room, he braced himself for the worst. "Nick," the judge began, surprising Nathan with the use of his false name. "From the beginning of this contest, we have closely observed all the participants. There is something about you, a depth, a complexity that intrigues us. But we also sense that you are holding something back." Nathan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. The judge continued, "This contest is not just about beauty or talent. It's about authenticity, about the courage to be truthful. Whatever secret you carry, Mr. Brown, today is the day to face it. Not just for yourself, but for all those your story might touch." With these enigmatic words, the judge left, leaving Nathan alone with his tumultuous thoughts. The next few hours passed in a blur. Nathan watched as the other contestants rehearsed their presentations, each telling a story of resilience, hope, and love. Sophia practiced her speech about Lily, tears in her eyes as she spoke about her dreams for her daughter. And then, just an hour before the presentations were set to begin, Nathan made his decision. With trembling hands, he picked up his phone and made a call. "Charles, it's me. I need you to do something for me." When it was Nathan's turn to take the stage, he felt like he was walking to his own execution. The audience, consisting of judges, other contestants, and a small crowd of spectators, watched him expectantly. He took a deep breath and began, "My name is not Nick Brown." His voice echoed through the microphone, causing murmurs of confusion in the audience. "My real name is Nathan Blackwood." A murmur spread through the crowd. Some recognized the name instantly, others seemed confused. Nathan saw Sophia's face contort with shock and confusion. "I am or was one of the richest men in this country. I have more money than I could spend in several lifetimes. But a few weeks ago, I realized I had everything except what really mattered. Genuine human connection, purpose, understanding of the world beyond my privileged bubble." Nathan then recounted his entire story. How he decided to disguise himself as a homeless person, how he entered the contest, how he met Sophia and everyone else. He spoke about the lessons he had learned, the lives he had touched, and those that had touched him. "I came here looking for something for myself," he continued, tears now streaming freely down his face. "But I found something much bigger. I found the humanity I had lost a long time ago." As he spoke, Nathan noticed movement at the back of the auditorium. Charles had arrived, accompanied by a team of lawyers and press representatives. But Nathan no longer cared about the consequences. He was at last being honest. "I don't deserve to be on this stage," he concluded. "I don't deserve to compete with people who have truly struggled and suffered. But I promise to use everything I've learned, all my privilege and resources, to make a difference. To help not just Sophia and Lily, but all the people I've met on this journey." The silence that followed was deafening. Nathan stood there, exposed and vulnerable, awaiting the judgment of all those he had deceived. What happened next would not only alter the course of the contest, but the lives of everyone present in ways no one could have foreseen. The silence following Nathan's confession was shattered by a whirlwind of reactions. Shouts of indignation mingled with exclamations of surprise. Sophia, with tears in her eyes, abruptly stood and ran out of the auditorium. Other contestants stared at Nathan with a mix of anger and disbelief. The judges quickly gathered, whispering amongst themselves with tense expressions. Charles, at the back of the room, seemed torn between frustration and a strange sense of pride. Before the chaos could escalate, the gray-haired female judge who had spoken with Nathan earlier took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, please calm down." Her firm voice echoed through the auditorium. "What we have witnessed today is, without doubt, unprecedented in the history of this contest. But isn't this what we have been searching for from the beginning? Authenticity, courage, the true essence of being human." Her eyes fixed on Nathan. "Mr. Blackwood, your actions are questionable, but your final honesty is admirable. However, the consequences of your actions cannot be ignored." At this moment, the auditorium doors opened again. Sophia returned, her eyes red, but with a fierce determination in her gaze. She walked directly to the stage. "I should hate you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But how can I, when all you've done is give me hope? Hope for Lily." Nathan felt his heart break. "Sophia, She interrupted him. "No, it's my turn to speak. You lied, yes, but you also showed us something important. That even those at the top can be lost, can search for meaning. And that sometimes, it's necessary to lose everything to find what truly matters." A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience. The tension in the air began to dissipate, replaced by a collective reflection. Charles joined them on stage, placing a hand on Nathan's shoulder. "I think we all learned a lesson today," he said, addressing the audience. "About privilege, about empathy, about what truly defines a person's worth." The judges exchanged glances, reaching a silent decision. The gray-haired woman spoke again. "In light of these extraordinary events, we have decided that this contest cannot proceed as planned. Instead, we propose something different. Mr. Blackwood, are you willing to use your resources to create a foundation? One that helps not just Sophia and Lily, but all the participants and their causes. Nathan felt a surge of relief and purpose wash over him. "Yes," he answered without hesitation. "It's the least I can do." In the days that followed, the story of Nathan Blackwood, the billionaire who disguised himself as a homeless man, exploded in the media. There were, of course, criticisms, accusations of manipulation and privilege. But there was also a broader dialogue about inequality, empathy, and social responsibility. The Beyond Appearance Foundation was established with Nathan, Sophia, and representatives of the other contestants on its board. Lily received the treatment she needed, and dozens of other lives were transformed. Nathan resigned from his position as CEO of his company, dedicating himself fully to the foundation's work. He began living more modestly, using his wealth to make a real impact. Months later, walking through the streets of New York with Sophia, now a close friend and partner in the foundation, Nathan reflected on his journey. "You know," he said, looking at the city with new eyes, "I came into this looking for love, but I found something much greater. I found purpose." Sophia smiled, squeezing his hand. "And in the process, you helped all of us see beyond appearances. Maybe that's what true love really means." As they continued their walk, Nathan knew that his journey was far from over. There was still much work to be done, many lives to touch. But for the first time in a long time, he felt truly alive, truly connected to the world around him. The lesson he had learned, and now shared with the world, was clear. True beauty, true worth, goes far beyond what the eyes can see. It lies in the choices we make, the lives we touch, and the courage to be authentically ourselves. A year had passed since the events of the contest that had changed so many lives. The Beyond Appearance Foundation had become a powerful force for social change in New York and beyond. Nathan, sitting in his new office, modest compared to his former corporate penthouse, looked out the window at the bustling streets below. The contrast between his current life and his previous one couldn't have been more stark, and yet he had never felt more fulfilled. A soft knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. Sophia entered, carrying a stack of papers. "The reports for the last quarter," she said, placing the documents on his desk. "We've managed to help 50 more families this month." Nathan smiled as he flipped through the papers. Each number represented a life transformed, a hope renewed. "And how's Lily?" he asked. Sophia's face lit up. "She's doing great. The doctor said her heart is stronger than ever. She's even started taking ballet classes." The mention of Lily always brought a mix of emotions for Nathan. Joy for her well-being, but also a constant reminder of how close he had come to losing his own humanity. "Nathan," Sophia hesitated for a moment. "There's something else. Do you remember Carlos, the contestant who wanted to open a music school in his neighborhood?" Nathan nodded. How could he forget? Carlos had been one of the most vocal critics of him after the revelation of his true identity. Well, he did it. The school opened last month, thanks to the foundation's funding. He wants you to come to the official opening. The surprise must have shown on Nathan's face as Sophia continued. "He said you proved that people can change, can make a difference, that your story inspired him to forgive and move forward." Nathan felt a lump in his throat. Every story like this was an affirmation that his decision to reveal the truth, no matter how painful, had been the right one. That night, as he walked back to his new apartment, considerably smaller than his former mansion, Nathan stopped in front of the shelter where it had all begun. The place looked different now, renovated and expanded thanks to the foundation's efforts. A man stepped out of the door, recognizing Nathan immediately. It was the same staff member who had doubted Sophia at the start of the journey. "Mr. Blackwood," he greeted with a tired but genuine smile. "Here to see the changes?" Nathan nodded, looking around. "It's amazing what a year can do." The man hesitated for a moment before speaking. "You know, when the whole story came out, I was furious. I thought it was just another rich guy playing at being poor. But now, well, you've proved me wrong." The words touched Nathan deeply. "I was wrong about a lot of things too," he responded softly. As he continued his walk home, Nathan reflected on all the lives that had intertwined with his own over the past year. Each person the foundation helped Each story of overcoming was a reminder of the power of a second chance. Arriving home, he found an envelope at the door. Inside was an invitation to give a talk at a local university. The topic, Beyond Appearances, Rethinking Privilege and Social Responsibility. Nathan smiled, thinking about how he would share his story this time, not as a confession or a plea for redemption, but as a call to action. A reminder that everyone, regardless of their position in life, has the power to make a difference. As he prepared for bed, Nathan glanced at the photo of Lily on his bedside table, a gift from Sophia. The girl's radiant smile was a constant reminder of why he did what he did now. Nathan fell asleep with a sense of peace that money had never been able to provide. His journey of self-discovery had transformed into a mission of social transformation. And though the road ahead was still long and challenging, he knew that every step was worth it, because now he understood, true wealth is not in what we possess, but in the lives we touch and the changes we inspire. Thank you very much for listening to this story. Comment below what you thought of the ending and from which city you're listening to us. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, click on the next story that's appearing on your screen now. Leave your like and subscribe to our channel so we can build a huge community that shares inspiring stories together. See you soon.